Hello again, this is Professor Homa. I'm going to show you how to do a classic tween in Flash. It's a little bit different than the shape tween, and it's not quite the motion tween. It's actually the old motion tween, and I'm going to show you how to do that just real briefly in Flash without doing a whole lot of movement to it, but I'll just show you a couple basics. I'm going to start a new document, and I'm going to do ActionScript 2.0 like we did last time. And I have my stage on the screen right now. It's the standard size. And again, if you ever need to see your stage size, just click on the stage. You'll see 550 by 400. There's even a background color. So if I wanted to change the color, which I'll change the color of the background right now, because I'm not going to be putting a whole lot of different colors on the top right now. Before I get started, again, something just to keep in mind, I have a blank keyframe in my timeline, which means I have nothing there yet. So if you have no content, you will see a blank keyframe. So the minute I put content, I'll have a keyframe on my first keyframe. I'm going to make a classic tween, which actually requires using a symbol. So far we just made shape tweens using basic shapes and objects that were drawn in Flash. I could still draw an object in Flash, but I'm actually going to turn it into a symbol, which will get stored in the library. So I'll get started and do that. I'm just going to make a circle, again, nothing special. Actually, I'm going to make a rectangle, because then if we twirl it around, it'll be more noticeable. I'm still working in object drawing mode, and I'll give it a background color of, I'll give it a kind of a purplish blue color. And I'm going to draw a rectangle just on the side of my window right now. And you can see that it has a black stroke around it. And before I do anything, I'm going to convert this to a symbol. So I just need to select it, and I'll go to Modify, Convert to Symbol, and I'll just call it rectangle. I don't need anything special right now. And in terms of the type of symbol, I have three choices. A button, which is if I'm going to put any interactive actions on it or any kind of rollover or clicks that's going to happen, I would choose it as a button, but I'm not. Movie clip is a little more advanced type of symbol that it can have animation built into it, but I'm just going to choose a graphic symbol right now, and I'll hit OK. The difference you'll see is that there's a little registration point or a little transform area in the middle, and that'll also indicate where it will show its position and where the width and height will be measured when you look in your properties. So that's the difference. You will see a blue outline, which I did have when I drew it as an object rectangle, but I now have this little registration mark in the middle. So that means it's a symbol. I can also click on it and look at my properties, and I can see my symbol name, and I can see the graphic, that it's a graphic symbol. I can even change it in my properties, the type, to a movie clip if I wanted to after the fact, but it would only occur to just this instance that's on the stage. So I'm not going to do that right now. I'm just going to go over a quick classic tween. And what I'll do, just like we did the shape tween, it involves adding a keyframe and then making a change. So nothing's changed about this right now. I'm just going to put this on frame 30. I'm going to insert a keyframe by doing F6 on my keyboard, which inserts a keyframe. And remember, that keeps everything the same until the change occurs, until the keyframe, the playhead enters the keyframe at frame 30. And what I'm going to do to change this, now that I'm on frame 30, is I'm going to move my rectangle over to the right side of the stage. And first of all, that's the first change that I made, is movement. I changed its position, so now on frame 1 it's on the left side, on frame 30 it's on the right side. And something else I'm going to change on keyframe 30 is I'm going to use my freeze transform, and I'll just make this a lot larger so that it scales in size. I'll still move it off screen. And again, it starts as a small rectangle, ends as a larger rectangle. Another change I'm going to make, and I can do this all before I actually add the classic tween, is I'm going to select my symbol. I should use my arrow to do that. I'll go to my properties, and I'm going to have my rectangle fade in. It'll move across the screen and fade in, meaning it's going to be transparent and then it's going to be solid. So to do that, I'll make it transparent on the first keyframe, and then it'll be solid on the last one. And to make it transparent, I could go to color effect in my properties, and I'll select alpha, and it may just go right down to 0, which is what happens. And you can see it's now transparent, but I still see the border around it, and it's still solid on keyframe 30. And now what I'm going to do, just like the shape tween, is I'm going to right click and say create classic tween. And notice shape tween isn't even available because we're not working with a shape. We're working with a symbol, so we only have the option of motion tween and classic tween. We're choosing classic tween, and the background color is now this bluish color, almost similar to the color we're using on our screen right now, or for our rectangle. And what happens, I'll move my playhead, you'll just see that it starts transparent, it moves in, and it gets larger. Okay, that's a basic classic tween. Another element that I can do with that, other than just having it move and change opacity, is that I can, anywhere inside this tween, I can go over to my frame properties, and there's a rotate option, and I'm going to say rotate clockwise, and I'll choose maybe 2 times. So what's going to happen is during the length of this tween, this classic tween, this box is going to rotate 2 times. Sometimes it looks like it's rotating more, but that's just because it has to go all the way around. And I'm going to control test movie, and there you can see my classic tween. And it used to be called a motion tween, but the motion tween that we're going to be learning is going to be a little different. And you can see it spinning around. It starts small, it fades in. A couple rules about a classic tween is I can't have more than one object tweening on the same layer. If I wanted to tween something else and have it go in a different direction, I would have to do that on a different layer separate from my rectangle that's happening right now. So I would have to do that with a totally separate symbol that I'm using right now. Okay, one last thing that I'd like to show you is that when we made a symbol, what happens is it gets stored in the library. There's my rectangle. It's stored in the library. I can go into the library to edit it. I can double click on it. It'll take me in this little editing area, almost like a backstage area, and I can make changes to my symbol. And if I wanted to go in here, I can double click on it. I have to go into its drawing object kind of mode. And let's say I want to change it from using that blue color to maybe a reddish color. And over here, now that I'm inside rectangle symbol and even inside of that drawing object mode, I'll go back out to scene 1, and now my entire tween has now been updated. My classic tween is updated from the start and to the end. Also keep in mind I cannot have a different symbol here tween to a different symbol here. The tween has to occur, the classic tween has to occur using one symbol. It can't have 2 different symbols. It can't start as one symbol and morph into another. It only involves one symbol changing either its position, its opacity, there's even tint colors we could work with, its scale. Those are some of the things with classic tweens that we can change. And obviously they can get very, very detailed, but this is just the basics. And again, just to repeat the basics, first thing we have to do is turn it into a symbol, then add a keyframe, and then add your classic tween, which you can do right from your timeline. And the only thing I could do is remove it right now because it has been added. So I'm going to stop there, and we could do a little more detailed stuff with classic tweens and motion tweens in the future, but I'll stop right here.